We're going live. Looks like we're live. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Hawks Hoops. How y'all doing this week? First off, let me get it out the way. You feel me? Well, let's do the full intro. Welcome to Hawks Hoops. Once again, appreciate you for pulling up. Hawks Hoops happens every Wednesday at 8 o'clock right here on the YouTube channel. It's your one-stop shop for all NBA news once a week, 8 p.m. live. As usual, you can join the show. You can be a part of the show. You can call in, share your hot takes. We're going to open up the phone lines in a moment. And I'll tell you what the number is for that once we do. But I want to let y'all know we're doing something a little different this week. We're actually also live on TikTok to try to get some of them TikTok followers over here to the YouTube. Check out the live show so you can really see what the full live show is like. We got a good show for you guys this week, but I don't want to say address the elephant in the room, but we missed last week, right? We weren't on the show last week. Your boy had COVID. You feel me? I was a little sick, and the next thing I know, it was like, oh no, you have COVID. So I was out of the count. I was out for the count on last Wednesday, but I'm back. You know what I mean? We fully vaxxed, and this is actually my second time having COVID, but it is what it is. I'm grateful for my health, grateful to be alive. Nothing serious happened. The wife was okay. The rest of the family was okay. Yeah. Like I said, welcome to Hawks Hoops Live. Y'all already know the deal. We're going to get right into the show. We got a couple of things that we want to discuss. Let me double check two things real quick to make sure my sound is right, just in case somebody does call in this evening. Audio properties. Yeah, I didn't think it was right. All right, bet. There we go. Now it is. Monitor off, monitor and output close. All right. So, first thing we want to talk about, right? First thing first, we got to acknowledge and show some love, give some flowers to the Splash Brother who has made his return. Klay Thompson made his debut debut this season after 930, 941, some wild number, like some absolutely wild number. Klay Thompson has been out for so long. We all know the story. He went down with the ACL injury. And then while he was working on recovering from the ACL injury, tears his Achilles. So he's been out for basically 2.5 seasons. It's absolutely crazy because the last time he played, and we'll get into the Memphis Warriors game in a second. And even his debut game, who did they play in his debut? I should know this off the top of my head, but I ain't gonna hold you. I don't. But he hasn't played in so long that the last time he played, John Morant wasn't in the league. Like, it's really been a long time since we've seen Klay Thompson hoop. And it was just really nice to see him back. Now, my thoughts on, they play against the Cavaliers. That's right. My thoughts on his actual performance, I'm not really trying to nitpick. I think he played okay. I think he was forcing it at times, which is completely understandable if you ask me. I think because of how they are bringing him back, these 5-minute intervals, 5 minutes at the beginning of every quarter, I believe that's how it was. He's going to have some rust, which is completely understandable. He's going to have some moments where it feels like, he's missing shots that he probably would have made in the past. Once again, that's completely understandable. But I'm liking what I'm seeing because the Warriors allowed him to just hoop. Like, the Warriors knew he was going to come out shot chucking to an extent. Like, and I don't mean shot tucking in a bad sense. I don't want Klay Thompson and Warrior stands coming in here hating me. But he was shot tucking a little bit. They knew he was going to want to get his shots up. They knew he was going to touch the ball a lot. They knew he was going to want to try to get back in the rhythm, and I'm not mad at that. I think he'll get back in rhythm just fine, to be completely honest with you. And I think he's going to make the Warriors a whole lot scarier than they have been. And I think he's actually coming at a perfect time. Because if you look at I can tell you right now, if you look at the Warriors, I don't want to say they've been in the slump lately, but I will say I don't think they've been playing to the level that a lot of us expected them to be playing at in the month of January and the month of December. I think we saw Steph fall into a little bit of a slump right before he broke the record. He was having I think he was just in a slump because he wanted to break the record. And I mean, the Warriors, don't get me wrong, they're still winning most of their games, but they're losing. They lost a couple of games here and there. Their net rating and offensive rating isn't as high as it was earlier in the season. That's what I mean when I say I feel like they're slowing down a little bit. Maybe I say maybe coming back to a mean, coming down in terms of their high level play that they started the year out with. But at the end of the day, they are still playing really, really, really good basketball. Because right now they are. Where's my favorite stat? Team miscellaneous. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. They still have the #1 defense, and I don't think that's going to change. Honestly, I think Klay Thompson can only make their defense go up. Like, I don't see their defense being any better, any worse with Klay Thompson. I only see it getting better. Somehow I got rid of my Google Voice tab. Sorry, guys. When you've been out for a little bit, you a little rusty. You take 1 week off, and it feels like everything you do gets a little difficult. But with that being said, we are going to open up the phone lines. Phone number is on the screen, 609-365-0382. Once again, 609-365-0382. Gives you opportunity to call in, join the show, share your hot takes, and be a part of the conversation. But yeah, like I was saying, Browns are making calls. Like I was saying, the Warriors, their offense is rated. Their offense has, I'll say, slowed down. I don't want to say it's not as good as it used to be. I'll just use the phrase it's slowed down. They're currently the 12th ranked in terms of offensive rating. They still have the #1 ranked defense in the league. And I think, to me, that's the sign that the Warriors are more so of a championship contenders than their offense. A team that plays really good defense will always be championship contenders in my book. Maybe not always championship contenders, but a team that plays lockdown, legitimate defense will always be a really, really good playoff team. And if you have the ability to put a good offense with that, the good defense as well. Wait, I can call in and join the hot takes? Yes. Somebody asked me on TikTok, can you call in? Yeah, if you go to the link in my bio, watch the YouTube, go to my YouTube. I'm currently live on YouTube right now. It has a number that you can call in, talk to me, and be a part of the live show on YouTube. And I think the fact that their net rating, their offensive rating has slumped a little bit compared to what it was at the beginning of the season. At one point, they were a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. Their offense has taken a step back. However, I think Klay Thompson being there gives them the ability to turn up the offense a little bit. Like, for lack of a better phrase, I don't have an easier way to say it. I think he'll add so much to this offense. I think he'll take some pressure off of Steph. And I think once Draymond is back as well, I think that'll fully unlock Klay. Thoughts on Dirk? I mean, Dirk's one of the best power forwards of all time. That's my thoughts on Dirk Nowitzki. He's one of the best power forwards of all time. And so Klay Thompson being back and is big for the Warriors. But you know what's also really big for the Warriors? And I don't think it's going to be a complete game changer for them, but I think it could really help them and be an X factor potentially for them. And I really see it coming in handy in the playoffs, potentially against a team like the Phoenix Suns. The fact that James Wiseman isn't back yet, I feel like we've completely forgot about James Wiseman. I'll be honest. I went on record before and said I really wasn't expecting much out of James Wiseman. I'll still don't expect him to be a complete game changer, but I'm looking forward to having him on. We got a call coming in. Thank you for calling Hawks Hoops. This is Hawk. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? Oh, did they hang up? Oh, we about to call them back then. They called and then they hung up before I could even. Nah, we call them back. Why not, right? Oh, hold on. Welcome to Hawks Hoops. I think I just missed a call. Who did I miss? No, I didn't miss a call. Hello? Hold on 1 second. I can kind of hear you, but not fully. How about now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What's up, Paul? It's Gabe.
What's good, G? How you doing? Thank you for calling in. What's good with you?
Nothing much, nothing much. Just chilling. I was watching the show live, and I heard he was talking about the Warriors. You know, the team I don't like, but making very true points nonetheless. Now, I was talking about that a little bit, and then ask you about some other stuff about Sixers related. But now just a couple of comments on the Warriors, like you were saying. I always forget like James Wiseman isn't even back yet. And I'm like,
Exactly.
damn, they're about to get back Klay, Draymond, James Wiseman, and I'm looking at everybody else around the league, and I'm like, do we really have an answer for the Warriors when they fully healthy? I don't know if there's an answer for the Warriors fully healthy. There's barely an answer for the Warriors right now.
Yeah, a fully healthy Warriors team. I
I
don't
don't
know if
know
there's
if
an
we
answer
got
for that.
answers for that. I don't think there is. So I'm looking at it like, if everything goes well, I believe Klay can just mesh right back in. I don't think there should be a problem. James
No.
Wiseman,
Yep.
I don't know if he'll really take a step forward this year, but as long as he is, what decently what he's supposed to be, or just half of what he's supposed to be, I think they're fine. Honestly, I don't know if anybody's going to beat them out of that shit this year.
Yeah, and the
really
thing
don't.
that's so interesting to me, one, I agree. Klay Thompson, he'll be back. He'll be back to normal. I think he'll be fine. Also, I don't think he's really going to be taking any minutes away from like crazy people. He's going to take a couple minutes from like Jordan Poole. He's going to take a couple minutes from Minton, Gary Payton II. Like, these aren't, they're good guys, don't get me wrong, but it's not like, oh snap, he's taking minutes from a superstar. Like, it's Klay Thompson. You're going to give him his minutes.
You wouldn't even notice a change. Yeah, you
Exactly.
wouldn't even notice a change.
And then in terms of James Wiseman, I don't think they're going to start him right away, but I think he could be huge coming off the bench. And if he turns into a potential starter, like, then throw him in the starting lineup. But I think, I was saying right before you called, I think he's going to be great in the playoffs, specifically against a team like the Phoenix Suns. When we get in the playoffs, by that time, he should be warm, and they got a big body in DeAndre Ayton. James Wiseman matches up with DeAndre Ayton very, very well, and I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, that's the one I've been looking forward to. I think that's going to be Western Conference Finals, personally.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Even depending on their seeding, they may not, but I think that's going to be the best series, period, in the Western Conference. I don't think there's anything really else, to look out for besides those two teams.
What's the Sixers' thoughts?
Another thing, listening to Philadelphia talk shows today, very frustrating.
Spending too much time listening to WIP.
Basically, I was listening to Woj had a little segment. They asked him, was there any movement on the whole Ben Simmons thing? Basically chuckled, and it was pretty much like, no, they're not accepting basically anything that's offered. Then there's a lot of rumors talking about they may try to couple in Tobias Harris, which makes two huge contracts, but they're going to be willing to eat some of the cost of the contracts to move them. And I'm like, I don't understand what you plan on getting back. Like, Tobias is extremely overpaid, and everybody understands why you're trying to move on from him.
Yeah.
There is interest in Ben Simmons, but they're not interested in giving you a superstar for Ben Simmons because in their mind, he's slightly overpaid too for what he's bringing. So it's like you're trying to trade, technically speaking, two overpaid contracts in hopes of a Damian Lillard or a James Harden signing trade. Like, that doesn't really, I don't see that's going to happen. So my thing is, you're trying to reach for the stars. In the meantime, you're the best center in the league, in my opinion. His body is riding away every year after year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you got a window here, you got to make the best of it. And if you don't, the Sixers are going to become what they were in the beginning of the Brett Brown era of where they end up right back in that situation. They're going to wait until Joel's body is completely gone. You're going to end up sitting around, playing around with Ben, getting trashed. You're not going to get anything back for Tobias Harris. And you're just going to end up being the old Sixers, which is, I hate to see it. Because the process was crappy at first, but it started to look like it was brutal. And so it's like,
it's crazy to think that this how close the Sixers felt back in 2018 versus where we are now when we had Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick and Kawhi hit that wild shot. And ever since then, I feel like it's been downhill. That's the closest we've ever been to a real championship team to me, and we ain't been close since.
No, because I think we made the stupid decision to get rid of Jimmy Butler and then, giving Tobias Harris a lot of money. I would, despite attitude or, problems in the locker room, Jimmy Butler, he was your biggest piece in that playoffs.
Yep.
I just don't understand why you got rid of the man who literally dragged you through the playoffs, and he hit all the game time shots, the closers, all when you needed a bucket and, in low minutes, he was there. He gave you the buckets. I just don't, it doesn't make sense on why you didn't sign him. Even if you wanted 5 years, it's okay to have 3 good years out of somebody and then 2 years that aren't so great. Move them.
And you know what's a perfect example of that? The Phoenix Suns. They signed and gave Chris Paul all that money, and because they knew they were going to get a couple good seasons out of him. The last 2 might be a little shaky, but we see an opportunity right now to try to win. Let's give this man his money now.
Exactly. Give it to him. Get the first 3 good years out of him, the first 2 good years, and then the other 2, it is what it is. If you want to move on from him, if you just want to say, hey, can you just mentor our younger guys? That's how it works. And to me, it's just with the Sixers right now, Daryl Morey, I don't know if his interest is really the best for the Sixers, or if he's just like, hey, I want to be a GM of the year and I want to pull off a blockbuster trade. I'm just like, is what you're doing going to benefit the Sixers? Because right now you have Joel Embiid playing MVP level, but you're not going out and help he needs right now. Because Joel Embiid doesn't have 5 more years at this level. He doesn't. I think he has at top. If you ain't doing that in the next 3 years, you're wasting his time.
Yeah, with that.
It just doesn't make sense.
I would agree with that. They definitely got to figure something out. And packaging Tobias Harris with Ben Simmons, I agree with you. I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's possible, to be really honest with you.
$80 million for the 2 players, whatever they're making together.
Yeah.
We'll probably, I don't know, $40, $50 million together in a year. It just doesn't
together, it's probably about $40 million a year. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's all the 2 points I wanted to call in and talk to you about.
Appreciate you for calling in, bro.
All right.
So he brought up some really, really good points. One, closing up the Warriors stuff, and then I'm going to talk about the Sixers. Kind of got a couple more things to say about that. The Warriors are going to be scary. James Wiseman's coming back. Klay's coming back. Well, Klay's back. Wiseman has to come back. When Draymond plays with this team as well, it's going to be scary. Keep your eye on the Warriors. Continuing on to that Sixers conversation, I also heard that same news that basically Woj said, if you couldn't hear what G was saying, Woj said that the Sixers aren't making any progress. There have been no new news. There's no new news. There's been no new progress. The Sixers are kind of just stuck in terms of moving Ben Simmons. And now you find out that the Sixers might want to add Tobias Harris to this deal. It makes no sense to me. And a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, well, they can do a 3-team trade. They can do a 3-team trade. I've seen that a lot on Twitter. You know how hard it is to pull off a 3-team trade? If it was easy to pull off a 3-team trade, we would see more of them. 3-team trades don't happen every trade season. You don't even see them every year, every offseason. And especially not necessarily with huge names. It's not impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. Very, very difficult. Moving on from the Sixers and Warriors, I want to talk about, and I don't know if I didn't share them on YouTube. I made a TikTok about it. I made a YouTube short, but I wanted to quickly go over my all-star starters. I thought about doing the reserves. Maybe we'll do the reserves next week as we get closer to the game. But I wanted to talk about my starters and share them with y'all. So let me pull that up real quick. Let me see if y'all can see that. Bow. Oh, wrong screen. Look at that. Look at technology. Isn't technology beautiful? All right. So a lot of y'all already might know my starters, especially if you follow me on my other apps or you watch. What did I just do? My other content. What the heck? All right. So here are my starters. Out west. We're going to look at Western Conference first because Eastern Conference, y'all was on my neck. Western Conference, Steph Curry, John Morant, right? Obviously, Steph is Steph. We just spent the last 10 minutes of the opening 10 minutes of the show talking about Steph Curry and the Warriors. John Morant. Now, some of y'all wanted Devin Booker. And I get it. Devin Booker is playing all-star caliber basketball. Devin Booker, arguably, is playing all-star starter caliber basketball. But it's just something about John Morant and what this Memphis Grizzlies team is doing with the storyline. For me, I need John Morant to be a starter. I know he's going to make the all-star team. That's no ifs, ands, or buts on whether or not John Morant is going to make the all-star team. At this point, we all know he's making an all-star team. But personally, it feels like he's really having a breakout year. It's his third year. He's having that third year leap that some great players have. And I want him to be a starter. I think he deserves to be a starter. I think he's all-star basketball type of play, if that makes sense. Like, he's a highlight reel. We tune in every night that Ja Morant's playing, every night that the Grizzlies are playing. You wake up the next morning and for some reason he's on House of Highlights. He's on Bleacher Report. He's on ESPN Top 10. Like, he's highlight reel basketball. Whether it be that crazy two-handed block, whether that be, which was wild. I don't know if y'all saw that contest where he contested that jumper in that Lakers game. I don't remember who shot it. But he made it. But how high Ja Morant was on that contest was absolutely wild. So he's highlight level basketball. I want him as a starter. Nikola Jokic, arguably one of the best centers in the league. We're actually going to talk about in a second on who is the best center in the league, in my opinion. One of the best centers in the league, doing amazing things for the Nuggets. He's got to be a starter. LeBron James. Do I need to say more? LeBron James. Want to be a starter. And then Paul George, he's injured now. A lot of people were saying he's injured now. Why is he in here? He's injured now. Yeah, Paul George is injured now. But from at least what I can tell so far, he should be back by All-Star game. Low key, we should be potentially hearing him coming back towards the end of this month, early February, late January. From what everything I've read and from what I've researched, his surgery should only take like a month of recovery. He had it mid-December, so sometime mid to late January. Personally, I'm looking for him to come back. Now, out east, right? I didn't realize Trae Young had this many fans, bro. Like, I mean, obviously Trae Young had this many fans, but people was on my neck. I have DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine starting in my backcourt, right? Now, why the NBA voting is allowing DeMar DeRozan to be categorized as a guard when he plays a lot of power forward and small forward minutes, I believe he should be in the front court. But if they're going to have him as a guard spot, I'm going to put him as a guard spot. So I think they've been balling out. DeMar DeRozan has been arguably the clutchest player of the season, right? Now, if you look at his stats, the last time I checked, I mean, this was probably 2 weeks ago, last time I looked at it, he had the most points in the clutch. And if you're not sure what the clutch is, that is points, that is, NBA considers the clutch in terms of when you're looking at clutch stats, the last 5 minutes of a game and overtime, if the score is under, if it's a 5-point game. A 5-point game with less than 5 minutes in the fourth quarter and overtime, that's considered clutch time. And DeMar DeRozan had the most points in the clutch and I want to say a top 3 field goal percentage of the clutch. Like I said, this was a couple weeks ago and I looked at the stat. But he's been hooping. And Zach has also been hooping. If you ask me, DeMar DeRozan's been playing a little bit better than Zach LaVine, but they're right there. It's literally 1A and 1B for this team. Their stats are almost identical. They play well off of each other. I had to have them both. Trae Young, he's going to make the team, right? But he can come off the bench. I have Kevin Durant in there as well. He's arguably the best player in basketball right now. It's him, Kevin Durant, Jokic, LeBron. Like, those are the guys that are considered some of the best in basketball right now. And Kevin Durant is right up there with them. The Nets aren't good without Kevin Durant this season. James Harden started off very, very slow. Kyrie's just now starting to come back. Harden's been playing a little bit better, depending on who you ask, over the last couple of weeks. I'm still not a believer. I'll keep it a beam. I'm really not. I'm still sticking with my, whenever I see Harden had a great game, if I missed it, because I don't watch a lot of Nets games. I ain't going to hold you. I don't like watching Nets basketball. Kevin Durant's one of my favorite players, and I don't like watching Nets basketball because a lot of it, it's not pretty basketball to watch. It's a lot of isolations. It's a lot of Kevin Durant go get us a bucket. What's up, Hawk? What we talking about? What's good, bro? Right now we go to my all-star starters. We just finished talking about the Warriors and a little bit of the Sixers talk. Right now we're talking about some all-star starters. Call in. I'm curious what your starters are, if your list is different than mine. We got to have Giannis in there, of course. I feel like Giannis is low-key falling under people's radar. Like, the Bucks have been riddled with injury. They lost Brook Lopez at the beginning of the season. I want to say Drew Holiday's out right now still. They spent some time without Chris Middleton, and the constant for that team has been Giannis all season. He has been just the locomotive that's keeping that train going. Like, he's doing a lot for that team. He's doing Giannis stuff, but it's really fun to watch. You got to have him as a starter. It's a no-brainer. And at 5 is Embiid. Joel Embiid. One of the best centers in basketball. That's all I'm gonna say about that. We're gonna talk about who the best center is in a second. Blueberry, I'm curious if your list is any different than mine for your starters, or if you have a very similar list. I'm very, very curious if your list is similar or different, because I had a lot of people telling me they had similar lists, but most people were saying either get rid of DeRozan or Levine for Trey and get rid of Ja for either. I was actually seeing get rid of Ja for Devin Booker, and the Luka fans gonna go crazy, so I was seeing get rid of Ja for Luka. Out west, Curry, Ja, LeBron, Cat, and Jokic. I did see some love for Cat, especially since Paul George went out. Paul George honestly was probably my toughest decision, because for a while I did have Cat in there, but I was just thinking about what Paul George has been doing for the Clippers when he was playing. He had that Clippers team playing a whole lot better than I thought they were going to be, so I had to show him some love. For Karl Anthony Towns, I can't be mad at that choice as well. All right. Moving on real quick. Let me pull up my next topic. So next on the list, since we got just done talking about All-Stars, I wanted to show some love to Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. Because now this is as of December 10th. This is as of the 12th, which is today. So since December 1st, so about a month and a half. Did he type in the East? There we go. Let me see before I go to the Grizzlies, let's see what Blueberry has for his Eastern Conference starters. Trey, DeRozan, Levine, Durant, Giannis. Got you. I think that might be the first time I've seen that list where somebody still included DeRozan and Levine and took out Joel Embiid. I'm not mad at that list. As a Sixers fan, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm a little hurt not seeing Joel as a starter, but I can't be mad at that list. I can't be mad at the list at all. Thanks for sharing. So since December 1st, the Memphis Grizzlies. I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies are the hottest team in basketball right now. If you're a basketball fan and you haven't watched a Memphis Grizzlies game in the last month, you ain't a real NBA fan, because the Grizzlies are must-see TV right now. And it's not all just Ja Morant. Ja Morant is hooping, don't get me wrong, but this is legit team basketball. Desmond Bane's been playing great. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been playing great. Steven Adams is out right now, but early in the season he was playing very well as well. Slow-mo, Kyle Anderson looking good. This is good team basketball. And if you asked me in August what I thought the most surprising team would be, I wouldn't have said the Memphis Grizzlies. I promise you I wouldn't have said the Memphis Grizzlies. Back in August, I was still hoping that and holding on to Zion coming back. I got about 3 videos up saying how everybody need to calm down about Zion's weight, that once he gets working with these NBA guys, he's going to be straight. I just knew the Pelicans were going to be the biggest surprise of the season. But it turns out it's the Memphis Grizzlies. It's Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. So since December 1st, they have the number 1 record sitting at 18-4. They have the number 1 net rating at a +12, which is wild. The number 1 defensive rating at 102. Well, number 1 in rebounding percentage, number 1 in offensive rebound percentage. Shout out to Steven Adams. He's off. If you don't know, Steven Adams is one of the best offensive rebounders in the league right now this season. Historically, I don't know if he's been like that. He definitely has been a solid offensive rebounder throughout his career, but this season he's rebounding how people used to say Enes Kanter got offensive rebounds. Remember when Enes Kanter was a great rebounder? That's how Steven Adams was playing this year. Blueberry says, Grizzlies my favorite West team. Jaren Jackson Jr. is amazing. I think will be an all-star reserve in a few years. Hey, I agree. Jaren Jackson Jr. could be an all-star reserve next year. And I don't even think it's got to be a few years. I think he could take a leap next year, especially if this team keeps growing like this. They can have some more wins in the win column and potentially be a team that's deserving of 2 all-star spots. And I definitely see all-star potential in his future. They're number 1 in fast break points. They're number 1 in points in the paint. They're number 1 in second chance points. Once again, shout out to my boy Steven Adams. Can you tell I'm a Steven Adams fan? Shout out to the Thunder. Number 1 in opponent second chance field goals, and number 1 in points off of turnovers. So they're number 1 in a lot. They're number 1 in a lot. And when you got to ask yourself, you don't have to ask yourself, but I'm asking myself, looking at the NBA standings, right? The Memphis Grizzlies, I want to say, are 4th. I'm pulling it up right now, but off the top of my head, I want to say they're still 4th. If I can spell standings. Memphis Grizzlies. are, still fourth. At 29-14, they have a solid lead over fifth place, the Dallas Mavericks, who are 22-18, and they're right behind the Jazz at 28-13, right? So my question is this. A lot of people keep saying, we've been saying for a while, the Jazz are contenders, the Jazz are contenders, the Jazz are a real team. If the Memphis Grizzlies are solidly in fourth seed right now, I'm not saying they're necessarily contenders. I think they're still a little bit too young, although this team plays with a lot of poise. Blueberry, you get into where I'm going in a second. Where do you see this Memphis Grizzlies team going? Because they're past just, when you're making your predictions, they're past first round already, off the rip. They gotta be, right? The fourth seed Memphis Grizzlies, they gotta be past first round. So now we're looking at second round. And when we're looking at second round, we're looking at, okay, so who would they be matched up against? As of right now, they'd be matched up against the Warriors in the second round. No, I'm sorry. They'd be potentially matched up against the Suns. With the Suns being a 1 seed, the Grizzlies being a 4 seed. In the second round, if both of them win their first rounds, they would play against each other in the second round, and the Warriors would play the Jazz. Suns Grizzlies in a 7-game series. I'm not saying the Grizzlies are a shoo-in to win, but I'm not saying it's a guarantee win for the Suns. I think Blueberry said it in the chat. I'm predicting the Grizzlies Warriors Western Conference Finals. The Grizzlies legitimately have a chance to make the Western Conference Finals, in my opinion. Now, I don't think they're gonna make the finals. I don't know if they're gonna beat the Warriors in 7 in that Western Conference Finals. But they have a legitimate path. It's not gonna be an easy path. They're not gonna walk there. It's some legit competition in the way. But if the NBA and the Western Conference standings continue on this trend, they have a path to make the Western Conference Finals. Now, I think it'd be very unfortunate for them if the Warriors get to that 1 seed and they stay at that 4 seed. I don't think they want to see the Warriors in the second round, because by then Klay Thompson will probably be his full self. We already talked about James Wiseman coming back. The Warriors will be a scary beast. I ain't gonna hold you. So I don't think they want to see them in the second round. But if they see them in the Western Conference Finals, I think it could be at least interesting. And I don't think it's too crazy to say the Memphis Grizzlies have a legitimate chance of making the Western Conference Finals. It's there. We see it. It's there, because if the NBA were to end the day, they'd be playing the Clippers in the first round, who are the 8th seed. The play-in is the Timberwolves and the Trailblazers. I ain't gonna hold you. I don't trust neither of those teams. The Timberwolves could make it in there over the Clippers only because Paul George is injured right now. But if Paul George is healthy, I'm having the Clippers in there. And the Grizzlies can beat... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm completely wrong. The Grizzlies will play the Mavericks in the first round. That actually would be interesting. Jaren Jackson Jr. guarding Kristaps Porzingis. Seeing what Luka can do. Throwing Desmond Bane on him. You probably even throw some... You'll probably see Jaren Jackson Jr. guard him a little bit. John Morant guard him. I would still have the Memphis Grizzlies over the Dallas Mavericks. I don't believe in the Dallas Mavericks. They're the 5th seed right now, but I ain't gonna hold you. I don't believe in them. You think the Grizzlies will beat the Suns win streak from beginning of the year? They are on a 10-win win streak. Yeah, where did the Suns streak end on last year? Earlier this season, it was at 12. I want to say Suns win streak. I don't remember how far they got this season. Oh, they were on an 18-game. I'm gonna tell you right now. No, Blueberry. I hate to win a bit. I want to break it to you. The Grizzlies are not getting an 18-game win streak, and that's mainly because if we look at their schedule and who they play upcoming, and I'll even show it to you so you can see it. I'll pull it up on the screen. If you look at their upcoming schedule, look at that. So coming up, they have so they're at 10. The Suns were at 18, so that to beat them, that means they need to win 9 more games in a row, right? Timberwolves, that's a dub. The Mavericks should be a dub. I just said I don't believe the Mavericks. The Bulls is going to be tricky. The Bucks is going to be tricky, and the Nuggets are going to be tricky. I don't think they're winning all 3 of these games in a row. That's going to be a very, very tough week. None of these are back-to-backs. Granted, they have a rest day in between each of these games. They're going to be some tough games to win, and I don't know if I see them. It's not even I don't know. I don't see them beating the Bulls, the Grizzlies, and the Nuggets all in the same week. Now, if they prove me wrong, if they somehow prove me wrong, watch out, bro. Just watch out. Like it's just watch out, because it's really about to be wraps for the league. If they somehow pull off the Bulls, the Bucks, and the Nuggets, they sweep them that week. If they get all of these wins, then they go on to play the Mavericks, the Spurs, the Jazz. The Jazz is gonna be a tough one. The Sixers are gonna be a tough one. I don't see them beating their record. I'll be honest. I don't see them beating their record because I don't see them coming out of this little week right here without any losses. However, like I just said, the Grizzlies can make the Western Conference Finals. And I think that's a hot take. The Grizzlies can make the finals, the Western Conference Finals. All right. Continuing on down the we've been live for 35 minutes. All right, we still got some time. A couple more topics. So I don't even know how to explain this. Right? So let's walk through the Kyrie Irving situation, because we find out some news today that the fact that Kyrie low-key, there's potential that Kyrie might be playing in some home games very, very soon. So to walk y'all down this timeline, I feel like we all know it by now, but for those of you who don't, Kyrie's unvaccinated. The city of New York, not the NBA, not the Nets, the city of New York put in a mandate: if you're not vaccinated, you can't come into public spaces. The Nets facilities, the Nets arena is considered a public space, so he's not allowed to play in home games. Beginning the season, Nets management says if you can't play in any games, we don't want you playing at all. Like if you can't play in all the games, we don't want you playing in any of the games. The season starts. The Nets offense is extremely sluggish. They realize they need something. Oh, we probably need 26 points a game on 50, 40, 90 shooting. Kyrie, you can play in away games. It's working out to some extent. It's only been a couple of games. I'm actually going to watch them tonight. They play the Bulls at 10 o'clock. Best believe I'll be watching that game. But I'm sorry, I got distracted. Seeing the wife walk past, she definitely distracted me. But now we come to find out that there might be a loophole for Kyrie Irving to play in regular season games. Let me pull it up. Okay, so what it is an article was posted by New York Daily News, NY Daily News. It's a publication out of New York. I'm not a New Yorker, you feel me? And he can, if the NBA and the Nets really want to, they can basically allow Kyrie to play without being vaccinated. Let me turn off ad block so I can show you all this. Enable ads, yada. Well, now let's do this a little quicker, please. There we go. Essentially, it's a fine system put in place that allows penalties for non-compliance, which is clearly outlined in Bill de Blasio's executive order, that the first offense is just a warning. Well, the first time you have an offense of not complying with this vaccine mandate, it's a warning. The second offense is a $1,000 fine. Third offense, $2,000 fine, and fourth offenses thereon is a $5,000 fine. $5,000 is chump change to Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. $5,000 is pennies. It's literal pennies for this billion-dollar corporation that is the Brooklyn Nets. Like, how is this? So this told me, it was a couple things that crossed my mind when I first heard about this loophole, is what I'm gonna call it. It's not a loophole because it's built in and it's been there since the beginning, but it's now becoming, I'd say, public knowledge. It's probably always been public knowledge, but all it takes is one publication to actually talk about it, throw Kyrie's name on it, and now we're realizing it's a loophole. So one, the Brooklyn Nets really wanted Kyrie Irving to be vaccinated. Like, it was definitely I don't want to use the word agenda, because I also want Kyrie to be vaccinated. vaccinated. I think everybody should be, personally. But the Brooklyn Nets obviously wanted Kyrie to be vaccinated, because you can't tell me that this organization didn't read the full executive order and realize that this loophole was in it. You just can't tell me that. I refuse to believe it. So then when they tell him he can come back for away games, and now we have this. Now, there haven't been any official word from the Brooklyn Nets or from Kyrie Irving or from the NBA saying they're going to use this loophole and go about paying this fine. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because there are players in the league who aren't vaccinated and they play, but it's because their cities don't have the same type of rule that New York City does. And it's probably, I didn't do the math, but right, we're halfway through the season. It's about to be All-Star break. We're almost halfway through the season. There's probably 20 home games left. Actually, there's probably less than 20 home games left, to be completely honest with you. So 20 times 5,000. What's that? What is that? Because 2 times 5 is 10. Is that a 10K? 100K? Is that 100K? Yeah, 100K. The Brooklyn Nets are taking that fine, bro. The Brooklyn Nets are paying that fine. So all the speculation that I personally had about why are they doing this, what are the Brooklyn Nets going to do in the playoff series when Game 7 is at home, Kyrie's going to play. That's what they're going to do. So in terms of basketball, I'm actually really excited to see him play. I'm a Kyrie fan. I'm an Uncle Drew fan. I'm a Kyrie fan. I think he's a little crazy. I don't really listen to a lot of stuff he says off the court, but him as a player, I'm a fan. So I'm not mad at it. Blueberry says, answer this later. The Hawks have said they've been interested in Simmons. What's your take on Simmons to Atlanta? So I actually saw this, and what I saw in terms of making the contracts work, it was Simmons to Atlanta for Cam Reddish and John Collins. It was Cam Reddish, John Collins, and Danilo Gallinari. I think those three made the trade work, right? Now, the interesting thing, and I forgot to say this earlier, so actually thank you for bringing this up, Blueberry. When we were talking about Sixers, I forgot to bring this up earlier. The Sixers are in a very interesting position, in a very unique position when it comes to a potential Ben Simmons trade. Usually when a team trades away a player, they're trying to figure out how they can at the very least replicate what that player was doing for them, or at least do better than what that player was doing for them. But at the bare minimum, you're always looking to at least replicate what that player brought to the table. Now, in the terms of the 76ers, Ben Simmons has brought nothing to the table all season because he hasn't played. So while on paper, I think I'll put it this way. If Joel Embiid was 2 years younger, I'm saying do that trade, because I don't think, as of right now, I don't think Cam Reddish is ready to play championship caliber basketball and really contribute to a team that's trying to win a championship. Same thing with John Collins. I don't think he's ready to contribute to a team that's ready to win a championship. But I think in 2 years, they really could be. But as my boy G, who called in earlier, said, the Sixers don't have 2-3 years more to waste of Joel Embiid's prime. The Sixers are in win now mode now. One, because Joel Embiid legit is in his prime. And two, because we all know Joel Embiid's a little injury prone. So we want to maximize every season we have with him to be the best possible. Now, and that trade for Ben Simmons to Atlanta, I don't believe that included Tobias Harris. And now it has been reported that the Sixers are trying to include Tobias Harris, as we discussed earlier. I don't know how the Tobias part of that works. But Simmons to Atlanta, from a Philly fan perspective, I don't love it, to be honest. I don't like what we would get back from them. Like I said before, I just don't think they're bad. I don't think they're bad pieces. And if Joel Embiid was 2 years younger, I'd say do it, and we can continue to go for another 2 years. But we need something now, and I don't think that would work. If I'm Atlanta, I'll pull the trigger on that. I ain't going to hold you. I think Ben Simmons would flourish, like be great with a dynamic, really, really good superstar level point guard like Trae Young. That's why we kept seeing the rumors of Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum, because everyone wants to see Ben Simmons play with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard said he would like to play with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a all NBA caliber player. He's an all defensive caliber player. He's a defensive player of the year candidate. He's a good player. He's a great player. I take that back. He left a terrible memory in everybody's mind. The only thing people remember of Ben Simmons right now was his time playing against the Atlanta Hawks in that second round. But that Ben Simmons isn't the full player that Ben Simmons is. That's my Ben Simmons take. Atlanta would be a great fit for him. Absolute great fit for him. They'd still have Kevin Huerter to be able to shoot the ball. They'd still have Clint Capella. I want to say he's on the Hawks. He's been having a down season. I done lost track of where he is. I ain't gonna hold you. They'd still have good pieces. The Hawks need defense. Ben Simmons would bring a lot of great defense. Ben Simmons would be able to play the Draymond Green role, how Draymond plays alongside Steph Curry. Like, I think that's the potential for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons' potential, he has the playbook. Ben Simmons could be a better version of Draymond Green. And I'm not trying to gas it. I'm not trying to over-exaggerate it. His playmaking could be better than Draymond's. His defense has the potential to be better than Draymond's because he's a bigger body, so he can play bigs better than Draymond. His foot speed is there, so he can guard guards better. He can't shoot as good as Draymond. I mean, Draymond's not a great shooter now, but I mean, he's a better shooter than Ben Simmons, especially that 2016 Draymond. And yeah, people have forgotten pre-Atlanta Simmons. Pre-Atlanta Simmons was nice, y'all. Like, I just don't think he fits on the Sixers with Joel Embiid. I think Ben Simmons is a superstar, just not on the Sixers with Joel Embiid. I wish him the best. I wish it wasn't going like it is. If I wasn't a Sixers fan, I really would be wishing he played. Like, I'd be begging for a trade. If I was just a Ben Simmons fan and I wasn't a Sixers fan, like he was just a player I liked and I lived in the Midwest somewhere, like I just like Ben Simmons, I'd be begging for him to get traded. Because soon as he comes to a team like Atlanta, I'd like to see Ben Simmons on Dallas. There are a lot of teams I'd like to see Ben Simmons on. I'd like to see Ben Simmons play with LaMelo Ball in Charlotte. Like, if there's a dynamic point guard, throw Ben Simmons on that team. Give me Ben Simmons and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Give me Ben Simmons and Trae Young. Give me Ben Simmons and LaMelo Ball. Give me Ben Simmons and Luka. Give me Ben Simmons and John Morant. You put Ben Simmons with dynamic point guards, and I think he can unlock a new part of his game. The Sixers wanted him to be the point guard. He wanted to be the point guard. The Sixers wanted to put the ball in his hands. Brett Brown wanted to put the ball in his hands. That's what they did. It didn't work. But if you give him a dynamic point guard who the ball is in their hands, and Ben Simmons can cut off of that, Ben Simmons can run a second unit, Ben Simmons can beat Draymond Green, I think it would work. I really do. But that's just not where it's at right now. I got no other way to say it besides that's not how it worked out for Philly. And it's unfortunate. Ben Simmons has tanked his trade value, so it's really hard to trade for him because the last thing we saw of him was him not taking that layup, really, which should have been a standing dunk with nobody guarding him but Trae Young, and passing the ball to Matisse, who I want to say missed both those free throws. I can't remember. He missed at least one of them. But off the Ben Simmons soapbox. Love to see Kyrie back. And what time is it? It's 8:50. Wow. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is tanked is an understatement. Yes, he tanked his trade stock, G. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is I want to give some love to someone who I think the record doesn't necessarily show it right now, but I think this person should be in consideration for Coach of the Year. And that is Eric Spoelstra, the coach of the Miami Heat. They need to be. He deserves to be in contention for Coach of the Year. The Miami Heat are currently 25-15. They're third in the East. They're above the Bucks. They're above the Sixers. They're right behind the Nets and the Bulls. They actually are only one loss behind the Nets. Like, they're legit. And as of January 10th, I can't remember if they play. Have they played since the 10th? It's the 12th now. Yeah, they're playing right now against the Hawks. They're up 5 against the Hawks. But as of January 10th, Their last 15 games, they're 11-14, third in the league. Y'all heard me read something off like this last week on TikTok. They're third in the league in terms of record. Offensive rating is second in the league. Defensive rating is 8th in the league. Net rating is 5th. They have wins over Milwaukee, Charlotte, Phoenix, and Philly in these last 15 games. And they're missing so many people. Bam Adebayo's missed all 15 games. Bam Adebayo's been out for a grip, y'all. Jimmy Butler's missed 10 games. Dwayne Dedmon, Caleb Martin, 7 games. PJ Tucker, 6 games he's missed. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero have missed 3 games. Kyle Lowry's missed 2 games. I don't know how to explain it. When you watch this Miami Heat team, when you watch Heat basketball, if you had to ask me who their star was, obviously I'm gonna say Jimmy Butler, right? I'm gonna say Jimmy Butler's their star. I'm gonna say Jimmy's their engine. Jimmy's the one who is their go-to guy. But on any given night, they low key, no exaggeration, have like 4, maybe 5 guys who can like, oh, I got 25 tonight. Oh, I got 30 tonight. They play team basketball. They play basketball I like to watch. They run schemes. They run plays. Everybody touches the ball. The ball moves. There's not a lot of ISO on that team. They have players who can ISO from time to time. I've seen Jimmy get an ISO. I've seen Tyler Hero get an ISO. I've seen Kyle Lowry kind of sort of get an ISO. Not really. And the Miami Heat are just a really, really good team. And if the Miami Heat are healthy, for real, they're title contenders. Or they're at least contenders that come out the East. I think the Miami Heat offensively might not stack up against a team like the Brooklyn Nets, or even a team like the Milwaukee Bucks. But defensively, they have guys who can give those teams a hard time. I'm not going to say they have guys that can stop those teams because no one's stopping Kevin Durant, no one's stopping Giannis, no one's stopping for real Kyrie. But they have guys who can give them a hard time. They have guys who can play basketball. And that Miami Heat team, like, over the last like 2-3 years, they just keep building a culture. They just keep having a next man up mentality, and they keep surprising me. Before I head out of here, let me just read Blueberry's comment talking about the Sixers and Ben Simmons, going back to that. Yeah, imagine Lonzo Ball, Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges, it just says some power forward, and Simmons at center. The Hornets would be playoff bound. That's how good Ben Simmons is. But we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. This has probably been the longest show we've had in a while. I appreciate all of y'all for pulling up. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. We will see y'all next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. If you're watching this and you haven't liked it yet, I don't really know what you're doing. If you got this far in the video and ain't drop a like, come on. Drop a like for the kid. If you're not subscribed, we would appreciate to subscribe as well. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers soon. And I will see you guys next week. I'm out. Peace.